Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Attract and Stand Out podcast. I'm your host, Darlene Hawley, and I'm so glad you're here. It is a wonderful day because we have Sue Dahill with us. She is the founder of Work Smarter Digital, and she believes if you think smart, use the right tools, and go after your goals, you can achieve anything. Her clients are coaches, creatives, and one woman band types that want to create more ideal clients and bring more profits to their business. And she has an amazing CRM that we're going to talk all about today. Sue, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you here. I know that having tools in our businesses is something that is not a nice to have. It's actually a necessity when it comes to running our business. We need to have super smart SOPs, strategic operating platforms in place to really make our life so much easier. And as a business coach and as someone who I know you created a CRM that helps people do this, it's so valuable. So I'm glad you're here so we can talk a little bit more about these systems and making sure we have them in place for ourselves.
You're welcome. You're talking my language for sure.
Absolutely. Well, let's start kind of back at the beginning. So what was it that led you to starting this business and really finding a CRM system that I'm assuming you probably started for? I'm going to assume here, I'm going to make an assumption. You probably created a system for yourself because you couldn't find what you needed. And then you created an amazing platform that everybody needs now.
Well, actually, I'm white labeling it. So I did not create it from scratch, but I did search high and wide for a great tool that I thought would be best for myself and my clients. I have, 20 years of experience in technology management and a master's degree. And when I got to the point in my career where I had been striving for years, I hated it. And so I left corporate in I think it was 2017, and decided to try working for myself. And in that whole process, I found that I loved learning about all the tools that were available for really small businesses like ours. And I was playing with them and using them, and my peers were struggling with them. And when I first started my business, I was doing like tech management consulting. So I wasn't supporting really small businesses. And it was about a year in that I decided to pivot. And I had one friend who was like, "Can you help me with my tech?" And because I just need it. And I was like, well, sure, I'll see if my, big corporate experience could actually help a really small business. And I was able to make it work. And I loved it because the impact was immediate. She was able to stop doing all this work that she'd been doing and give herself more time to spend on this big, what was she doing? It was like a big in-person conference that she was trying to set up. So it actually freed her to focus on that. And it felt really good. And that I was like, I'm going to pivot to focusing on the really small business owner because the impact is so huge. And there's just a lack of knowledge about how to use tools in our business. It's not something we learn. In college, you don't learn it in your job if it's not part of your job description.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things that it makes it so much easier to run your business when you have a system in place where you don't have to like make it up or guess constantly of what you're doing or who you're supposed to be following up with or who that person was that you talked to 6 months ago and you can't remember their name, but somewhere in your emails you still have their contact information. Like having a system where you can know who to follow up with, who to connect with, who to do it, like whatever those next steps are for you in your business takes away some of that guesswork. And
yeah, it really does. And I have found that with my clients, the more they really understand who they're serving, the better they are at creating any kind of a system. It doesn't matter if they're keeping the system in a spreadsheet or in a more robust CRM like the one I offer. But if they know who they are trying to attract and how they go through their process with them, they can definitely automate much of it, not all of it, but much of it.
Yeah. And just having like that place where everything's kind of kept in one location even can be so valuable.
Yes. Well, I mean, there's a statistic that we all waste like 20 of our time looking for information, just looking for it. So if you have, what I find a lot of my clients will have part of their client list in their online calendar system. Then they will also have the other part in their invoicing system. And then they have their mailing list in whatever email marketing tool, and maybe even another list. So usually when they're coming into my system, I'm consolidating 3 or 4 lists into one, and they're just kind of shocked by how many contacts they actually have that they have not been nurturing with any mailings.
Yeah. They're like, wait a minute, I have not stayed in touch with anybody.
Right.
Right. And then they wonder, I had all these people that said that they were interested, but just not right now. And they wanted me to follow back up with them, but then I forgot to follow back up with them. Therefore, they found somebody else when they were ready. And then when you do follow back up with them, they're like, oh, I already got taken care of, or I went somewhere else because I couldn't find your contact information. And then
I forgot that we had that conversation 2 months ago.
Yeah. And then you kick yourself.
Yes. Well, following up is the hardest thing. I'm actually not good at it myself. I am not good at checklists and stuff like that. That's why I like to automate them, is because I don't follow my own checklist that I write for myself. But I just created a more robust follow-up process, because people, when I meet with them on a discovery call talking about my CRM, they're usually not coming to that with their credit card in hand. It's a fairly large decision to move to a CRM and commit to that level, which I understand. And so I created a follow-up sequence, a prospect follow-up sequence. So if someone says, well, I want to wait, can you contact me in 30 days or 60 days is typical. So now I have a sequence where it's like, I just put them into that sequence, and then it sends them a text saying, hey, you wanted to follow up. It's been 30 days. Why don't you schedule a follow-up meeting? So it sends a couple just so that, because we're all busy, nobody sees the first one. But it's a combination of text and email that I think can also really help with connecting with people.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I do something called, I think it's kind of dorky, but I do it and I love it. So I do follow-up Fridays. So I have like my calendar every Friday is follow-up Friday. So if I think of somebody I need to touch base with during the week, or if I've met with someone this week, or if I put somebody in my notes for like following up at certain times, like Fridays, I sit down, it's blocked out on my calendar every Friday. And so I send those messages.
Wow. So you do the actual follow-up on Friday?
Yes.
And do you schedule, like if someone mentioned it that week, to follow up in 3 weeks or whatever?
Yep. Then I put it on my calendar and move it there, and it's in my follow-up Friday slot. And I'm like, all right, like it's time to.
So smart.
So it
doesn't have to be automated to work.
Yep. And it's not it's not super. I mean, I have I'm an Excel CRM is like my system. So I have all my notes and I know where to go back to and follow up and keep everything in there, and everything's in one spot. But then I just know, like, I don't have, if I think of like, oh, I need to call Mary Sue today because I told her I'd follow up this week, I don't have to drop everything in that moment. If it's Tuesday, I just make sure your name's on Friday, and then I can be super, like, I like to batch my schedule, as you can tell, like follow up Friday is like part of my batch system. Like, I just know I'm following up with people on Friday. So when I think on Tuesday, like, oh, I need to follow up with her, I just write you in my calendar if you're not already there for Friday. And then I can go about doing whatever I was supposed to be doing, working with clients or writing content or who knows what, taking kids to school and drop off or pick up. But I know it's there, and I know that I have a specific spot where I can, handle all of it in one quick hour versus like stopping for 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. So that's worked for me.
That's so smart. And I love the alliteration. I think that does help with reminding yourself.
And it's a fun name, Follow Up Friday. Who doesn't want to follow up on Friday?
Yes. Yes. I know it would not work for me because, like I said, I am terrible at following my own lists. But I mean, that is also great approach. Yeah, systems can come in all sizes.
Yep. We all have our own system and method to our own madnesses, right?
Yeah. And it really is just about sitting down and plotting out your system, be it automated or not, but taking the time to be intentional about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit about like your CRM system itself. Like, tell us the details. I want to know.
Yeah, the details. Okay, so I call it Work Smarter CRM, and it's an all-in-one CRM. So it has the contact management portion of it, and as well as the email marketing, and landing pages, funnels, online courses, forms, surveys. So you can really do almost anything that you need in your business will be in this one tool. So a lot of my clients will come to me because they have they're going on 4 to 8 tools and they cannot make them talk to each other. And that's where they get these lists of people in a tool. And they're not all funneling into one mailing list or anything like that. And you can certainly make it work using Zapier, if Zapier is your best friend. But I think if you're a really small company, it's much easier to be using an all-in-one tool because you're dealing with one support team, one tool on how you learn to use it. And there's a lot of integration that's already done for you because it's in one solution. So mine is similar to like Kajabi or an Entreport or Kartra. It's kind of that kind of a tool. And the way that I work with my clients is to look at their actual client experience. So I don't just focus on the marketing part, it's the whole experience from when someone becomes a subscriber on your mailing list to when they stop working with you and become a raving fan. And so I look at that whole, the workflows that you have in that whole cycle with that one client, and how can we automate the communications? How can we create an experience that is personalized, high touch, and also very human? Because I think that if it feels automated, then it's probably not working very well.
Yeah, and nobody needs another automation. We just want a tool that can keep us in contact with people, like having the right conversations at the right time and continuing without it feeling like you're talking to a robot the whole entire time. Like you don't want to lose that human piece that comes with it as well. Because I know a lot of people are afraid of automation because of that. They're like, they might say, I want to have these actual conversations, or I want to stay in touch. But then humans, we forget, we get busy. We don't, like you said, we don't follow our checklist, or we have brains.
Yeah.
Distracted very easily, and we're like squirrel and we forget to go back. So it's finding that balance of having a CRM that really keeps you on track as a business owner and really keeps that human connection part. Like I'm big on like the nurture sequence of it. Like you're nurturing a community. Like once I meet you, whether you're interested in working with me or if you sign up for my newsletter list because you want to download my free gift or whatever those things are, like I want you to feel like you're on an experience with me. I want you to get to know who I am. We want to build that know, like, and trust factor. And it's easy to fall off that client journey experience if you don't have the right systems in place.
Exactly. Yeah. What happens is if you're not automating, then you have big gaps in that journey and they feel it. And you're not being as intentional as you think you are when you do that. To me, it's like a hybrid experience. You have to be strategic about what are human interactions and what are automated interactions. And even when it's automated, it can still be very personalized. Like I have one of my clients is a dyslexia coach. So she works with families with dyslexic children that are trying to get the appropriate services in their school district. And she's very focused on having a high touch, personalized experience. So we've created a way for her to collect information so that she can craft very personalized sounding emails. We make sure that we're using her child's full name when it's appropriate, when it's their first name when it's appropriate. We did not go so far to have a he, she pronoun put in there, but we could have. And she's really appreciating it because her goal was to be able to serve more families. And she was kind of hitting a max because she was doing everything by hand. So, I mean, that's what's possible if you really are intentional about how you use it and what's a human touch versus what is a tech touch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you have a system like where you can put all those pieces in there without having to like recreate the wheel every single time. With each client, like, cause especially like I have a signature program where I work with my clients for 6 months, and it's pretty much mapped out. Like we do certain things certain weeks, and I know that it would definitely be time saving if I didn't have to manually enter some of those things or, do those things every single time. So that's what I do love about like the CRM systems is you have the ability to set it up to where it knows when to send things. You can tell it what to do, when to do it. And then you don't have to like physically go in and do all of those touches every single time as well.
Yes. Yeah. Like when someone signs up with my CRM, I have a client onboarding sequence because, and to me, everyone should probably have some sort of a client onboarding sequence where you're welcoming them to the community and to your business, but then you're reminding them everything that they purchase, in small bites of emails that you send out over a couple weeks, because otherwise they get overwhelmed, they're excited, and then they don't know where the Facebook group is. They don't know where they should be storing their files to share with you. They forget, and it can make them very anxious and feel like this wasn't a good decision because I don't know how I'm supposed to interact with the service provider.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love it. So what is like the most common question people ask you when they get on the phone with you when they're interested in buying or purchasing your CRM? Like what's like that? What's typically the first objection or question you get? And let's get it out of the way right now.
Yeah, the objection is always, I don't have all of my stuff organized, or and so I need to get organized first. And to some degree, yes, you do need to get a little organized. I actually have like a prep guide where it says what you need to pull together. But thinking through how you actually move to the CRM, that to me is my secret sauce, which is I help people get onboarded with my CRM. So you're not left to YouTube videos to figure it out. So that's their biggest objection because they're used to just being left on their own for their own devices to figure it out.
Yeah. Right. And I love that you kind of walk them through that process. Like you say, like, this is what you needed to get organized before we move forward. So it kind of gives them the chance to get all their ducks lined up, feel like they're moving into the CRM where they know they have a plan in place. They know what they're going to do, how they're going to use the system, and they have a partner too. Because I love that you said a couple of times, like you held their hand through some of that process. They have a real life person that can support them and guide them versus just, like yes. None of us need another video. Let's be real. Like we don't need to watch another video. We don't have time.
Yes. I call DIY drowning in YouTube. Yeah. For that reason. I do use Loom, but I'm actually answering the person's question. So, someone sends in a question, I'm having this issue. I will show them how to walk through it in their account, and sometimes we'll make adjustments. So like I had a client who's a social media management agency. That's what she has. And she created a workflow or an automation. And she was like, can you just double check it? So I went in, I looked at what she did and pointed out a couple of adjustments. And sometimes I will actually make the adjustments because it's so wrong. But most of the time I'm just telling them what it is. And they appreciate that because then it's exactly their question. It's not trying to extrapolate what they saw in the video to what they're trying to do in the system.
Yeah. So good. So tell me a little bit about like when you first started your business, if you could go back and talk to like brand new Mary Sue who just started her business, what is like one piece of advice that you wish you would have known in the beginning that you treasure now?
Okay, so I've never worked with you, but I would tell myself to get a business coach.
Yes. Speaking my language.
Because I came from corporate, I had managed a large team with a P&L of like $20 million. I thought I knew everything I needed to know. And what I didn't know, I could figure out. And certainly I did figure it out, but it took me a really long time because the marketing part and the messaging and all that kind of stuff took so much of my effort and just emotional anxiety that I wish I had been more open to coaching at that point, because I ended up doing it in 2019, so 2 years later, and it drastically changed my business for the better. I'd been kind of like eking along, and then once I started working with a business coach, got my messaging much more clear. It's a work in progress, but it's much more clear, and how people work with me and what my packages are made a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. Amazing tip for yourself. And I feel the same way too, because when I have a coach in my corner, I just do so much. Well, I was going to say weller. That's not even proper English. I do so much better because I have somebody there to hold my hand, keep me accountable, call me on my BS when I'm doing it, showing me systems and tools that I like. I'm constantly growing and developing and, growing my practice just as much. So I'm a huge fan of always having a coach in your corner.
Yeah, I think that a coach can really accelerate your learning. And if you've worked in a corporate job or anywhere else, you've never had to do everything that you're having to do in your own business. And so being able to be pointed in the right direction or even be taught a way of doing it would have been much better.
When I became a business coach, I was in retail management prior to that. And I did coaching, like I was developing my employees, like I had all the coaching aspects down of
Yeah.
it. And I did operations HR. So I had like the administrative side. I was like, I figured that part out really quickly, but I never in retail management ever had to market for the company I worked for. So I learned through my coaching program when I got started, like how to market and what to do. But I didn't really I was like, I could sit behind my computer and like do emails and check the numbers and do all the administrative stuff. Great. But like putting myself out there and like actually marketing my business was really hard those first 2 years. It took me a long time to like figure out like the pieces I didn't know about from, my background prior.
Yes.
And we don't think about that when we start a business. We have passion, we have desire, we're excited, we're like gung ho, we're going to do this. But you don't know what you don't know until you're thrown into the fire and you're actually out there and you're like, oh, I actually need to market my business to get clients. They're not just going to come to me like they used to. Okay, what is this process going to look like? How do I do it?
Exactly. Yeah. I think once getting the messaging down, it was like, well, what is a nurture sequence? How do I actually use networking to get clients? Like that whole process was just trial and error for me. And it was awful. I do not want to go back to my first 2 years.
With you. Thank God we made it through, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what would you say, like if you could give like one tip or strategy for marketing your business, what was the one thing that's really made a big impact for you?
Outside of my message was consistency. I think I am not a excellent marketer. I am not an excellent social media person, but I'm consistent. So that has absolutely served me well. So I've committed to emailing twice a month, my mailing list, and I post regularly on social media, and I just do it. And I do it when I don't feel comfortable, when I feel like it's imperfect, I do it. And I get actually a lot of positive feedback from people on my mailing list. My future clients are all on my mailing list right now. I know it. When they're ready, they will percolate up. And they always say that they like the content that I share. So
Perfect. Yeah, I love that you share that because it's about being consistent, showing up, and consistency. I tell this to my clients all the time. Like it looks different for each of us. Like I email my newsletter list once a week. So my clients do once a week. Sometimes they do twice a month. Sometimes they do once a month. Some of my clients do once a quarter. They found a groove that works for them. And that's what's important. Like as the audience member, the prospect, whatever we want to call them, the ideal client, they want
to differ.
I'm like, we could talk about all the different names for it. There's way too many, but they want to hear from you. And it doesn't have to be consistent like all the time. It just needs to be like, oh, I look forward to this email on the first Wednesday of every month or every Wednesday or once a quarter, like whatever that is. Like they look for those things because they're excited to hear from you. They love what you're sharing. They want to hear the stories that you're sharing. They want to see, like you want to stay top of mind so that when they are ready, like what you just said, you're top of mind. They know who they're going to go to when they're ready because you stayed consistent. You kept showing up. You weren't the one hit wonder.
Right.
Showed up one time, they loved you, but they weren't quite ready. And then you fall off the face of the earth. And then when they are ready for buying their CRM, they completely forget about you. Like there's nothing worse than going back to somebody and they're like, oh, I already went with somebody else. But when you
Yeah,
say
you're like,
yeah, when you're consistent and you're showing up and you're nurturing and engaging and just, connecting with them, that's powerful.
well, I have a name for it. I actually call it romance your mailing list. Don't hit it and quit it.
Love it. Perfect.
Because I started calling it that because I have a client who is in the wedding business, and he just wanted to send out one giant email infrequently. It was so infrequent. I was like, you need to, and so I was trying to use like love language. I was like, you need to romance your mailing list.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so perfect.
It's not
But
a
it is true. Yes. Well, it is true. It depends on who your audience is, what kind of, frequency and all that it is, but you need to be consistent and just do it. I mean, that's the biggest lesson I had.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
Hmm.
What does success mean to you?
I think for me, it's feeling like I'm financially contributing to my family and being able to, going from a corporate job to working for myself, being able to contribute at the level that I was at in a corporate environment, contributing to the retirement, all that kind of fun stuff. But the stability of my family is what success means to me. So there's no specific number necessarily, or number of clients or any of that. I want the business to serve me in that way.
No, and everybody has their own definition, and I love that for you. It's like that contribution to your family, because I know that can be hard as women sometimes. Like as we're starting our own businesses and different things, and some of my clients come to me like they've been, worked in corporate or different things. Some of them have been stay-at-home moms before, and they want to be able to provide for their families as well as to give back in their communities. In the ways that feel appropriate to them because it's their money. They feel like they have like that choice and that ability.
Yeah.
So, in a minute, we're going to go to some rapid fire questions. But before we do, is there anything else that you want our listeners to know about why CRMs are so important, or why they should consider it for their business?
Yes. Well, first of all, CRM stands for customer relationship management. So it really should be about helping you build and maintain good relationships with your audience. And if you're not using a solution like this, it'll just make it harder, and you won't be able to connect with as many people in your audience as possible. Even though you do your follow-up Fridays, which is very personalized, you also said you have systems in place to help you manage the kind of ongoing nurturing. So it's a stage when you move from doing everything yourself to automating. It will help you scale and really create that intentional high touch client experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Like the more that you can build that relationship,
The better.
the quicker
Yes.
your business grows. And if you forget
Exactly.
about it, your business is not going to grow. And we don't have hobbies, we have businesses. So,
Right.
all right. So I'm going to ask you some rapid fire questions because I love to get to know my guests just a little bit on a deeper, funner, personal level.
Okay.
So I'm curious, are you binge watching anything right now? And if so,
Yeah, I am watching Red Rock. It's a Irish police show.
cool.
I don't know why I love it. I'm sure they're cussing a lot, but it's all in Irish slang, so who knows what they're really saying. But it's a lot of fun.
Is it on Netflix, or where is that one on?
Amazon.
Oh, it's on Amazon. Okay, I'll have to look up that one. It sounds fun. I'm part Irish, so I for sure need to get back to my roots a little bit.
Yeah.
Are you reading anything currently?
What am I? I just finished a book called Sorry, I have to look it up. It was really good. I listen to stuff, so it's never the one. I can't get the name of it. Darn it! The $1 Million One Person Business.
Okay.
By Elaine Pofet. I can't say her last name. It was very good, but she does talk about automation, so that's part of it. But it was just like, how can you take an online business and really make it six figures, seven figures. What do you need in place without having to have a huge team? So it's good.
Awesome.
And then I'm reading my book.
Oh yes,
The
I forgot.
The Boutique Effect.
Tell us about your book real quick while we're talking about.
Yes, so I created this book for my clients, my future clients, to help them really just understand how to integrate digital tools and automation in their business, so that half of it's kind of like the strategy and thinking behind it. And then the second half is I laid out 8 campaigns or automations that every service-based business should have. And I kind of made them like a recipe. You need 3 emails, and each email this email one should be topic what, each topic in each email, and the cadence that you would need, and must have elements. So I think it's a great tool to help small businesses just understand how to do the marketing, the nurturing part of the business. I wish I had something like this when I started, because all the books out there are for much larger companies. They're not for us solopreneur or tiny businesses.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely support what you teach, because I tell my clients every single day, I'm like, you have to have systems in place, and here's why. So I love that you take them through that process and really make sure that they have a system in place to know what to do. Can you tell the name of the book again? Is
the Boutique Effect, and a link to the book will be in the show notes as well. And it's on Amazon, and I have a paperback, and the Kindle will be coming out soon. So
perfect. So if you could name one person who really has like influenced your life the greatest, who would you say and why?
My whole life, not my business.
Yeah, just in general.
I don't know if she really influenced, but I love Mae West. I just love how ballsy she was, and she just always got to the core of things. I've always referred to her quotes throughout my entire life. So I actually used it in my book as my dedication, where it says, "I never said it would be easy. I only said it would be worth it."
So good. So good.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. And what's your happy spot when Mary Sue needs to like recharge and reflect and like?
I probably go out for drinks with my girlfriends.
Yes.
We probably go out once a month, if not a little bit more than that. But we all have kids and busy lives, and so we've been doing that for. I've had these 2 girlfriends since all of our kids were in the infant room and daycare. So we've been doing that for 18 years.
Love it. Yes, girlfriends are like the best thing ever. Like you just need somebody that you can like just talk about all the things and they totally get it.
Yes.
Perfect. And my last question for you today is, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
Oh, that's a good one. Where would I go? I think I really want to go to like Switzerland, Germany, in that region. I've never been there. I just love how mountainous it is, and just seems so lush and green. And then I love the castles. I want to see those castles up on the mountain, kind of tucked in.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure
My husband likes the beach. I like the mountains. Sorry.
they have to be our family like heritage castles, right? Like I always think when I go to Ireland, I'm like I had family here at some point, so one of these castles or one of these like cute little barns, like it could be my ancestors.
I always think that I'm too poor to have been in a castle. I would have been a serf.
I want to live downstairs.
Yeah.
You're so funny. Awesome. Well, Mary Sue, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be here on the show and just share a little bit about your business and like the successes and the challenges and all the things that you've done. I know people are going to want to connect with you. Where should they go?
My website is worksmarterdigital.com, and I think in the show notes you're going to include the lead generation 101 guide, which I just kind of laid out the different ways you could do lead generation. And it's more than just collecting names, it's the nurturing and converting them. So it kind of talks about all of those pieces. It's a great free tool for anyone to use.
Amazing. Definitely get your hands on that. I will have everything in the show notes that Mary Sue has shared with us today, and her resources are invaluable. So important to have systems in place. Whether you're doing it on your own, grab her book and create your own to start. And then when you're ready for a CRM, she is definitely your gal to go to.
Yes, thank you.
You're so welcome. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today on the Attract and Send Out podcast. As always, know that I believe in you. You're allowed to stand out. You're allowed to shine. You're allowed to be you. We'll see you next time.